Alright guys, welcome back to the Luxury Car Insider channel. If you're new here, we cover every major luxury SUV launch, every reveal, every redesign, so if that's your thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming later this year. Today we're talking about the 2027 BMW X5 40 xDrive, and honestly, this might be the biggest redesign this SUV has gotten in years. The X5 has basically been BMW's benchmark luxury SUV for almost 3 decades now. Since it dropped back in 1999, it kind of created the whole sport activity vehicle category, and every generation since has been the one rivals like the Mercedes GLE and the Audi Q7 have had to chase. So when BMW does a redesign this big, people pay attention. In this video, I'm going to break down everything we know so far. The design, what's going on inside the cabin, the engine lineup, how it stacks up against the competition, and exactly what you're going to pay and when you can actually get one. So if you're in the market for a luxury SUV in the next year or two, stick around because this one actually matters. Let's start with the outside because that's what you're going to notice first. BMW pulled a lot of design cues straight from the X3, and the biggest one is those wheel arches. Previous X5 generations had these rounded sculpted arches, but this new one flattens things out and gives it a way more squared off, purposeful look. Honestly, it makes the whole thing look wider and more planted on the road, even before you get into any of the mechanical stuff. Then there's the front end. The headlights are narrow now and they form this X-shaped daytime running light signature that's becoming kind of a BMW thing across their newer SUVs. It's a big departure from the round headlights we're used to seeing on X5s, and it gives this new one a road presence that's honestly hard to miss, especially at night. The overall proportions shifted too. Most of the bigger changes are happening inside. We'll get there in a second, but the exterior stance is noticeably wider and lower to the ground than the outgoing model. And that's not just for looks. A wider stance usually means better high-speed stability and more confident cornering, which lines up with how BMW's always positioned the X5 as the sportier option in this segment compared to some of the more comfort-focused competitors. Wheel sizes are expected to scale up a lot on the higher trims, and the overall shape still keeps that classic X5 roofline everyone recognizes. So from certain angles it's more evolutionary than revolutionary. But the front and rear detailing alone makes this thing instantly recognizable as a new generation. Okay, now let's get into the interior, because honestly this is where BMW made the biggest swing, and it's the part everyone's been talking about. That traditional gauge cluster, the analog style dial setup BMW's had forever, that's gone. Instead you get this slim panoramic screen that runs along the base of the windshield, basically stretching the full width of the dash. And it's not just a new shape showing the same info, it's paired with a standard 3D head-up display, so stuff like your speed, navigation prompts, all your critical driving info gets projected with actual depth right into your line of sight. Add in a massive 17.9-inch center touchscreen, and you're looking at probably the most screen-heavy cabin BMW has ever put in a production SUV. This is genuinely one of BMW's biggest interior tech shifts to date. If you're someone who's owned BMWs for a while, and you're used to that driver-focused, cockpit-style layout with actual dials and switches, this is going to feel like a big change. Some people are going to love the fully digital approach. Others are probably going to miss the tactile controls. Either way, this tells you where BMW's whole design direction is heading, not just for the X5, for basically their entire lineup going forward. Materials and trims are expected to follow BMW's usual approach where higher trims get you more leather, ambient lighting packages, better sound systems, all that. And given where BMW's interior work has been trending, I'd expect more sustainable material options than in past generations too, which a lot of luxury buyers are actually asking for these days. Rear seat space should stay a strong point. The X5's always been one of the roomier options in this segment for something that still drives this sporty, and cargo space should see some modest improvements too, keeping it genuinely usable as a family SUV, and not just something that looks good in the driveway. Now let's talk about what's actually moving this thing, because BMW's rollout here is important to understand. They're not launching everything at once. The all-wheel drive X5 40 xDrive is coming first. This is going to be the volume seller, the one most people are actually cross-shopping against the Mercedes GLE 450 and the Audi Q7. It's expected to run BMW's latest inline-six paired with hybrid assist tuning, which has kind of become a signature move for them lately, blending real performance with noticeably better efficiency compared to older six-cylinder setups. After that, there's a rear-drive X5 40 coming. That's actually pretty notable, because all-wheel drive has basically become the default expectation in this class. A rear-drive option suggests BMW's trying to hit a lower price point, or maybe going after buyers in warmer climates who actually want that more engaging rear-wheel drive feel BMW's always been known for. And then, coming later, the one the enthusiasts are actually waiting for, a V8-powered M version. BMW's M division has a long history of turning the X5 into something genuinely quick, and I'd expect this new M variant to keep that going, likely with a solid horsepower jump over the standard xDrive trims and chassis tuning to match. Across the whole lineup, expect really strong on-road refinement. That hybrid assist tuning isn't just there to help the efficiency numbers look good on paper. It's smoothing out power delivery, improving low-end torque, and giving the X5 that effortless acceleration feel BMW's engineers have been dialing in for decades. Suspension setups should include adaptive dampers as standard or close to it on most trims, keeping with BMW's whole thing of letting you toggle between comfort mode and sport mode depending on your mood or the road you're on. Beyond that big screen we already talked about, expect BMW's latest driver assistance tech across the board. That usually means better adaptive cruise, more refined lane centering, and improved parking assistance with surround view cameras, which honestly has become pretty standard expectation in this segment at this point. Connectivity is expected to jump too, with over-the-air updates likely reaching further into the car's systems than previous generations. That's become a real differentiator lately. Automakers aren't just competing on hardware anymore. They're competing on how much better your car can get after you've already bought it. So how does all this actually stack up against the competition? Let's break it down real quick. Against the Mercedes GLE, the X5's expected to hold the edge in driving dynamics. BMW's always positioned this as the sportier choice in that matchup, and that wider stance plus the continued inline-6 hybrid tuning tells you that's not changing. Mercedes tends to lean more into pure cabin comfort and a quieter, more isolated ride, so honestly it comes down to whether you want engagement or serenity. Against the Genesis GV80, it's a different conversation. Genesis has made huge strides in interior quality and value lately, often undercutting the German brands by a real margin, while offering comparable, sometimes even better cabin materials. The X5's expected to hold its edge mainly through the interior tech and that badge-driven resale value BMW still commands, but if you're purely optimizing for value per dollar, you need to seriously cross-shop the GV80. And against the Audi Q7, expect this to be a close one on tech features, where the deciding factor for most people is probably just brand preference and how your local dealer treats you, more than any actual spec sheet difference. Alright, let's talk numbers, because I know this is what most of you are actually here for. Pricing runs from $69,800 up to $79,800. That covers the initial trim spread on the X540 xDrive, and expect that to climb even more once the M version shows up, probably well into six figures once you start adding performance packages. On timing, the X540 xDrive goes on sale fall 2026. If you want to be early, that's your window. The rear-drive X540 and the iX560 xDrive follow in spring 2027, giving buyers who want either a cheaper entry point or the electrified iX5 a little more time before those hit dealerships. And the M version, for the performance crowd, arrives late 2027. So if you're shopping right now and you're not in a rush, waiting for that spring 2027 window probably makes sense, so you've got the full trim lineup to pick from. But if you want to be one of the first people behind the wheel, fall 2026 is where it all starts. So, is this the biggest X5 redesign yet? Between the new interior tech, the shift in exterior design, and a powertrain lineup that goes from an efficient hybrid all the way up to a full V8 M version, this generation is shaping up to be one of the most significant updates this model's ever gotten. Let me know down in the comments, are you team analog gauges, or are you fully on board with BMW going all in on screens? And which trim would you actually go for? The efficient 40 xDrive, the rear drive value option, or are you holding out for the M? And hey, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, because we've got a ton more of these luxury SUV breakdowns coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.